Philadelphia, do you believe that Saquon Barkley makes them the biggest threat to the 49ers?
I think he's a piece, but I think more so, RC, it's the coordinators. I think Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio is going to be a big determining factor in how well the Philadelphia Eagles do this year. We know about what happened with Jalen Hurts last year against the blitz, how the blitz really affected him. Can Kellen Moore give him more answers to the test to be able to combat that? Because we know that teams are going to test him early on.
Graz, is it as simple as getting Saquon the ball and letting him rock with all the issues the Eagles had last year?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think we've seen that from Saquon Barkley other than his rookie year. He's played 6 years in the NFL. He's missed games due to injury in all but 2 of those. He's been to the playoffs once. Like, I understand the circumstances in New York were not good, were not positive, were not helpful, but RC, about 10 minutes ago, I heard you ask, why should we believe Paul George can push a team over the top? I would ask the same thing about Saquon Barkley. Like, what have we seen from him in his NFL career that says he's a difference maker? I mean, DeAndre Swift had a good year for the Eagles last year. He's 2 years younger, cheaper. I think Saquon Barkley could play well for the Eagles. I don't see him as the missing piece that vaults them over the top.
Okay, let's talk about this, because saying that Saquon Barkley can't be a difference maker and that we haven't seen that from him is insane to me. Absolute, utter insanity. And then to just kind of give the caveat, well, we know that the Giants situation was garbage and trash and awful and doesn't set players up to succeed, and they have no quarterback and they have no other offensive weapons and this, that, and the third and no O-line, but let's just not worry about that and just hold Saquon Barkley's feet to the fire. I mean, it's just, what an outrageous statement to make. Saquon Barkley has proven to be a top-level running back, and a top level, someone who is incredibly dynamic, who when there's actually other weapons around him, with an actual legitimate starting quarterback, with a legitimate, good, decent head coach and an offensive coordinator, that they can actually do great things, that you can utilize Saquon Barkley in very similar ways that Shanahan is able to do with Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying that they're equal quarterbacks. I have no desire to have that debate or discussion. But to act like Christian McCaffrey didn't go through the roof when he left the Panthers and went to the 49ers, when he actually had a competent quarterback, when there was actually other weapons to spread the ball around, when there was a sufficient offensive line, and a legitimate offensive mind that can actually scheme players open, so you don't have to just hand the ball off and say, here, go get drilled 1 yard as soon as you touch the ball, you're going to be better. Christian McCaffrey is suddenly no longer injury prone when he was getting beat up game after game after game, year after year after year. And then he goes to the 49ers and poof, everything changes. Why? Because he's not taking the same level of beating. The contact isn't the same. They can't game plan. Everyone knew when you were playing the Panthers, it's just all in on Christian McCaffrey. Let's just hit him as hard as we can and make him as uncomfortable as we can, because there's no chance for them to do anything else. They could just tee off on him. They can't do that with the 49ers. They can't do that knowing that they have Ayuk, Kittle, Debo. They can't do that. And it's the same thing with the Eagles. You can't tee off on Saquon Barkley. Now, 1, there's a significantly better offensive line. 2, there's way more weapons. Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, who's also a weapon. I obviously know he's the quarterback, but he can also move and do other things outside of just standing in the pocket and throwing. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae. Like, it's this idea that Saquon can't be a difference maker is like saying, is Christian McCaffrey, was he not a difference maker for the 49ers? Because he is. Without Christian McCaffrey, that 49ers team suffers greatly and looks significantly different. And again, when you have a legitimately high-functioning offensive mind in the room, with a legitimate quarterback and some legitimate weapons, when you add a running back like a Saquon Barkley, it opens up the playbook massively. It's what exactly happened with Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey. It opens up the playbook. You can't open up that playbook if you just put Christian McCaffrey or Saquon on any other team, on any old team. It doesn't open up the playbook for the Panthers because it's complementary football. In order to really open up the playbook, you need to have other threats in other places. You need to have a threat to be able to throw the ball only 4 yards to Dallas Goedert, who can then run for another 8 and get that first down. You need that deep threat who can run the length on the outside. You need Jalen Hurts to have the threat to be able to, book it on his own right, to do a tush push, to do whatever it may be. When you have these other threats and the offensive line that can also buy some time, the playbook completely opens. That's why when we see some of these players, they're like kind of good, maybe even great, but when they finally get to a different team that's more balanced, that has more weapons, that has an offensive coach that knows what he's doing, it changes everything. The playbook gets, quadrupled. So I totally reject this idea that Saquon can't be a missing link. If you want to say, is he the single-handedly missing link? Well, that's an absurd question to ask anything. I don't know how you can ask that question or answer that question, no matter who the player is or what the topic is. And it doesn't really wholeheartedly make a lot of sense. So if you're trying to set it up just to say something negative about Saquon, then sure, congratulations, you did it. But the better question is then saying, like, because the title says, does Saquon Barkley move the needle? That's what the title of this video originally was. And so it's like, of course he moves the needle. And just because you got other production out of a inferior running back who's 2 years younger and cheaper, he doesn't open up the playbook like Saquon can do. He's not as dynamic as Saquon. So it's just completely different. And this idea of age, let me address this real fast, because other people are saying, oh, Saquon's older, this, that, injury prone. Saquon is in peak physical shape. He takes care of his body so much. A lot of these other players and running backs, they don't take care of them. A lot of times they're a little bit overweight. They're carrying extra fat, which now, when you're carrying extra fat, even if you're muscular, like Zeke is muscular and strong, but he carries a lot of extra fat. And what that means is your weight to strength is not proportionate. The ratio is not optimal. When you lose that fat, the amount of strength, the amount of muscle that you can the amount of strength your muscles can generate based off of proportional to your body weight is going to be more conducive to a healthier body, to a stronger body, to a more efficient body, and a body that's aging more properly, whether it be just like from a muscular standpoint, whether it be from your joints, your ligaments, your tendons, all of that. If you have knee problems and you're 15% body fat, 20% body fat, one of the best things you can do is go lose 5 pounds, go lose 10 pounds. Even if you're not necessarily overweight and fat, it still makes a huge difference. So even though some of these running backs appear to be in shape and strong and fast, there's more to meets the eyes in that regard. And that's why Saquon, even though he's been injury prone, he will still age very well because of the exact reasons what I said, because he takes care of his body. He is incredibly lean. He takes his physical fitness incredibly seriously. It's why Christian McCaffrey was able to take that leap too, because he also notoriously takes care of his body to like the next degree. If you ever watch any of his workouts and what he does. So I really believe that we will see a very similar upgrade with Saquon as the 49ers did with Christian McCaffrey. And it's funny because a lot of people bashed the 49ers for making that move for Christian McCaffrey, saying it was a bad move. They overpaid. They shouldn't have done it. Blah 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 blah. And now nobody in their right mind would ever doubt the impact that Christian McCaffrey has had on the 49ers. So I think we're going to see a very similar thing with the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Saquon Barkley can make the Eagles a top threat in the NFC? And do you think he moves the needle at all? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.